How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man.
W-
Fantastic. Feeling good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, so I want to start by apologizing for being late to everyone. My
Right.
times got a little mixed up. Working with little ones is not the easiest thing to do, so
hmm
bear with me here.
hmm
Um, so, Mr. Torre, I wanted to start because you brought the whole family to the Zoom call, which is highly important. Um, I wanted to start by having a discussion on how you got started with your nonprofit and starting family,
hmm
if you don't mind
Well,
sharing that story.
thank you for doing this, man. We appreciate you. We forgive you for any mistakes. All of us make mistakes. All of us have challenges and difficulties and barriers to overcome. So that's nothing to worry about. We just keep on working and getting better, right?
Thank you.
I started family. Really, the concept probably came from my own life experience. Growing up in New Orleans, Louisiana, moving here to California in 1987, 86, 87, and then becoming a student leader at LA Southwest College, where I was a student body president back in the 80s, and becoming very active in the movement, student movement, working with people like Jesse Jackson and Maxine Waters and John Mack of the Urban League and many others. And then deciding that it was important for me to speak through my own voice, and I needed an organization, I needed a structure around me to implement some of the ideas and concepts. Idea for family came from just that time, not by others.
One second, Mr. Torre. You froze there for a second, if you don't mind backtracking just a little bit. You didn't freeze for too long.
Okay, you know something? Let me close some windows here.
No, okay, no problem.
Let me close some windows. I think that might be hurting my reception here because I usually don't have any problems with that. Okay, I'm back now. Hopefully I don't have any of those problems anymore. But I was saying that in short, the family was really formed by the times that we were in the early 90s. I was a part of the gang truce movement back then between the Bloods and the Crips, what I call black people, a little confused. And we started organizing in the streets and going into the schools and working with students back then, working with the gang members. And we would bring a black history perspective to the whole conversation about getting together, trying to impart upon the brothers that we're all of the same family. And so family was really something that I hope that everybody could relate to, that everybody could be a part of, and that we can define for ourselves. So that's really some of the spirit of the organization.
Wow, that's beautiful. I went through the organization that you had at Locke High School called CMN BMB. CMN BMS. Sorry about that. Um, what was the inspiration for having this organization with all African American or better black young men all in the same classroom? What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, most of us coming up in schools can't remember how many black male instructors we had. Well, maybe we can remember because there were so few. I know in my own experience, I can't remember too many black male teachers that I had coming up all the way through high school and even on to college. And so it was important to me to put someone who looks like the young man in front of them so that they could relate on both ends. The men could relate to the boys and the boys could relate to the men because we've had shared experiences. And so it's important to learn from someone who looks like you and that you can relate to. It's just simple as that. So um, there was never a second thought about that. hmm It works too.
Yes, it does. We're gonna get more into that later in the interview. Um, so, while working with these young black males, what are some of the difficulties that they all have to overcome just to get their education, for example?
Well, most of the biggest challenge I would say is a lack of knowledge of who they are as human beings, and then as black individuals in society. And what I mean by that is, you often try to follow trends, and you're prone to follow something powerful. So if you see people on the streets doing certain things, if your mind is not strong enough and you're not really centered in your culture and centered in the knowledge of self and who you are, meaning that you have goals and aspirations that you've carved out for yourself, that you aspire to be something, to look forward and to look beyond where you are, to transcend your environment that you live in. And so it's important that when we come in, that we help the young men to begin to break through some of those barriers and to see who they are. And once they see who they are and their greatness and that they're connected to greatness historically and culturally, then they can begin to do the job themselves of freeing themselves from the confines that often crop up around them in their communities, in the environment, etc. So knowledge of self is number one.
Yeah, and with that knowledge, you have many different aspects of walks of life. And many people go on to do different things, which in their own regards is successful. So not all the success from the program looks the same, correct? For one young black male, it can be just going to college. For another black male, it can be finding a job, correct?
Yes, whatever they aspire to do, it's our job to help them to get there. We don't dictate to them which way they should go or what they should do. For example, Rome, who's on this call right now, he decided to go and to become an entrepreneur. He just mentioned that he was dropping off packages. Well, the packages that he's dropping off is a health drink that he created,
Mm.
and that he's selling and marketing himself to make money for himself. And he also talked about he used to come to the program and talk to the kids about investing and how he invested in bitcoins at an early point. I think you met him back in the day. And so yeah, he come through the program and he said, well, I want to be an entrepreneur. Well, we're going to help him become an entrepreneur. If you want to go into the military, we'll help you go into the military. If you want to go into college, we'll help you get into college. You want to go get a job and get into a career, we'll help you do that. But we just want you to do something meaningful with your life. It's a program that we say we have no excuses.
Mm.
We might have some obstacles and challenges. Everybody has them. Well, I didn't have a father at home. Well, my mother was on drugs, or, I don't have enough money. Okay, we all can say those things, but let that not be an excuse for failure. We don't believe in that. So we have a 100% graduation rate, as you know. We've been maintaining that for the last 4 years. And we stay with those students as we stay with you and others who've come through the program and support them in any way that we possibly can.
So I've been through a lot of programs, especially at Locke High School, and you mentioned it just now, and you talked about it. How important is it to communicate with the boys that you are going to be there with them, no matter what they define as their success? How how, how many times for a lot of those black boys is that even normal? Do they hear that a lot in their lives, or is this the first time them hearing something like that?
For some of them, it's the first time that they've had somebody say to them, a man, a black male, say to them that we care, we're not going to turn our back on you, we're going to listen to you and shut up when we need to, and we're going to support you and never give up on you. Some of them have never heard that. It's a new concept to them. Some of them have heard it before, but the person didn't do it. See, people come in and out of these young people's lives because they have jobs and they're making money, right? The difference about us is that we came to that school and we're still at that school unsalaried. I don't get a salary for what I do, right? I don't get a paycheck for what I do that I can just take and put money in my pocket and say I got a job. So the question I ask people who want to work with me is, will you do this without getting paid? Because if you're not the kind of person that will do this work without getting paid, then I don't want you on my team because you're not committed. You can figure out how to make money somewhere else. We don't make money with this. We change lives. And the only reason we change lives is because we're invested 110% in the lives of these young people. And they buy into that because they see the love, they can feel the love, and they see the consistency. We've never left them. When we first got to the school, we were there with the Urban League. The Urban League pulled out of the program after 1 year because they didn't have the funding. We didn't pull out. When they pulled out, We went back in, stayed in, and stayed consistent in the lives of these young people. And they see that and they trust us because we're there. It's very simple. Either you're going to be there for somebody or you're not. Either you're going to talk crap or you're going to do what you say you're going to do. It's very simple. And that's why we call it see a man, be a man. A man not only says what he's going to do with his mouth, but he says it with his actions. And the young people can look at us for an example of what a man is. Not perfection, but what a man is and what a man aspires to be. See a man, be a man.
And with that note, especially you communicating just now that a lot of these young black males had individuals come into their life, tell them that they're going to invest in them, and then pull out because the person didn't make enough money or wasn't getting paid enough. How important is it to communicate that fact to the boys that you're not doing this to get paid, you're doing this because you love them at the end of the day?
When you bring a child into this world, like you're a father now, you're not there because of money or because of material things. You're there because of love. And no matter what happens in your life, you got to be there for your children. I just talked to a young man yesterday. Well, he's not that young anymore. I used to work with him when he was a kid. You know, he was 15, 16 years old. He didn't want to listen. Okay, fine. I'll be here whenever you need me. So now that he's done 10 years in the penitentiary and he's out now he's more open and receptive to what I'm saying. What I'm telling him is that, yeah, you have children now. He wants to be involved in his children's lives, but they don't know him, right? But I'm saying to him, you can still be a great father. You can't force any child to love you. You can show your love for them and be consistent in their lives, even if you're in prison. You can write letters, whatever you need to do. There is no excuse not to be a good parent. So in terms of the program, we tell the boys, we're going to say things to you, but we're going to show you better with our actions. We are going to be here. It's very simple. We're not giving up on you guys. If you give up on yourselves, I don't know how much we can do about that, but we're not giving up on you. You understand what I'm saying? And so when they see that, they can feel it spiritually. So our program is not an academic program. We don't go in there talking about 2 + 2 = 4, right? We go there with the idea that you can develop your innate God-given talents and gifts, and you can change this world by the force of your personality, the force of your spiritual power. So our program is more spiritual than anything else. I mean, not religion. Don't get them confused. I'm talking about spiritual power, the power that you have inside of you to change phenomena and change the world. So it's a life mastery program, not a mentoring program. It's life mastery.
Speaking of the life mastery aspect of the program, there are 9 points that the program touch on that every now and then in my everyday life I recite them to myself, especially during Black History Month, when it comes to culture and all the conversations we had around that. Can you explain the 9 points and how you came about these points and why they're very important to go over with young black males?
Yeah, the 9 points, the 9 points of my curriculum is really something that I kind of gathered over the years and borrowed from different scholars that I had seen and went through my own life and saw that these themes were important. So spirituality is number one. Spirituality, we say in spirituality that uh, I'm forgetting the exact quote that we use,
I
but
am conscious of a higher power.
I'm conscious of a higher power. Number two, culture. I come from a rich, independent, and powerful heritage. Number three, career. You know. Number four, education. Then economics is important. We have to teach young men that money is about energy. It's an energy. It's not about how much money you have, because you have a lot of people that have made a lot of money and lost it all. So we teach economics through a spiritual realm and a cultural realm. How do we spend our money? Why do we spend our money? Why don't we produce instead of consuming all the time? And then we go to politics, and they don't know how important politics is. But what I've been able to tell them this year is that you all have a check coming. You have a check coming from Washington, D.C., because you're a citizen of the United States of America. And even though you haven't been able to vote yet, your parents have. And if your parents vote a certain way, certain things will happen in your life. And when you get the opportunity to vote, which you should do, no matter what else you're doing, you should vote. It affects your lives and it affects the lives of those who you love and care for. Then we go on to health and how important health is. You have a lot of people talking about, well, I want to lose weight. Well, you're not going to lose weight until you get yourself an exercise program, until you get yourself a nutritional program, until you eat a certain way, and think a certain way. The same thing, when you go into education. I want to be a lawyer. You're not going to be a lawyer if you don't like to read. If you don't read, you're not going to be a lawyer. It's not going to happen. So, then we go on to family and then personal responsibility at the end of the program. So we go each month over one principle. We start out in August and / September with spirituality, and then we go on from there. And then at the end is personal responsibility. And we say that everything you've learned, everything that you've come into, everything that you've met in your life, it's your personal responsibility to be successful, or if you're going to fail, you have to take responsibility for that. Not your mother or your father or your sister or your brother. You, what are you doing for yourself?
Yes, for personal responsibility is the one that I recite more often than not, especially to myself as I am going through a challenging time. And I know that to be true for a couple of other young males that went through the program as well. One of the things that I like to talk about when it comes to the program is culture is a huge part of it. And sitting there in a room with all these other young black males from all different walks of life, you really get a new perspective on things. But something that was common in the group that I was in, you would teach us about an individual that you believed our school touched on or once taught us before, and it turned out that they didn't. So I wanted to ask you this question, like how I asked Dr. Rains. What are some things that schools leave out of the history book when it comes to the importance for young black males to learn?
Well, schools are a part of a system that exists in America that is not designed to pay and focus on the human being. It focuses on the needs of the system. And the system is tied to economics. The system is tied to power. The system is tied to a need for people to advance their careers and all of that kind of stuff. So the schools don't have a spiritual component, right? They don't really have a cultural component that is beneficial for us. When I say us, I mean all people of color and all oppressed people, people who have been marginalized, people who need more than 2 + 2 = 4. So you have to understand that the system you're in, yes, you have to master it, but you have to transcend it. And then you have to put an educational program in place at home. All of the parents that I've been able to talk with, we let them know there are certain books that you need to have in your house. There are certain documentaries that you need to feed your children. There's certain music your children need to listen to. You have to be the educator at home so that when you send your kids out into these schools, that they're prepared, that they're able to have some kind of intellectual individualism that will prepare them for what they're going to encounter. Because a lot of stuff they're going to teach is counter to their productivity and their growth and development as human beings, particularly as Black Americans. And so we impress upon them that just because you're in school doesn't mean you're learning anything. You know, you have to teach yourself.
Yeah. In throughout the program, there were individuals who not only influence the creation of the program, but are talked about um, in our everyday conversations that I reflect on today. Um, what
Right.
drives you to? Um, I'm trying to think of a better wording for it. Sorry,
I
sorry
think
about that.
I think I can jump in.
Yeah,
I think I can jump in because we expose them to people like Paul Robeson, people like W.E.B. Du Bois, people like the great Nat Turner, people like Frederick Douglass, and many others that are lesser known, but they have to know that there are people who came before them that have accomplished things in spite of whatever was going on in society. Du Bois, we let them know, was the first Black man, Black person, period, to graduate from Harvard with a PhD, right? And this was in the 1890s. So if he could achieve that in the 1890s, surely you can finish high school, right? We have to give them examples of people who can inspire them to go farther. We talk about Sam Cooke and how Sam Cooke was not only a singer, but how he was a person who published his own records and opened his own record label and hired other people and signed up people that he knew in his community and stuff like that. The same way Nipsey Hussle was doing later on. So yeah, we have to expose them to figures in history that still have relevance in terms of their aspirations for success.
And is that one of the ways you bridge the gap between the difference in generation by using influences that are concurrent with the situation that the students are in?
Oh, without a doubt, current events mean nothing if you don't know the history that produced the current event, right? You can have a phenomenal thing happen like this COVID situation. Well, we talked to the kids about the fact that in Africa, many years ago, there was an Ebola crisis, right?
Mm.
And when it encroached here, President Obama, who's an intellectual, was able to put together a team of doctors and scientists who were able to stop that thing at the door because he studied and understood what had happened in Africa and was able to use that information and create something here that stopped us. Well, when this virus hit, we had a dummy in office, a fool, a complete nincompoop, you know, a person who wasn't to me even human, who was responsible for the deaths of over 400,000 people here in America, and probably more. I'm not even counting right. So I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, no, you did. That was very important. Um, and yeah, and talking about current events, how does the state of black people in America, with all of the demonstrations that happened during the summer, with the Black Lives Matter protests starting way back in 2014, probably a little before that as well, and still going on today. How's the teaching to the young black males and relating it to current events? Um, how does that look? How do you demonstrate that to them to give them their past and then
Mhm.
also mimic or show how it's a direct comparison to what's happening to today?
Well, one of the greatest examples I can think of, thank you for asking that question, is the period of Reconstruction, which occurred after the Civil War ended in 1865. After the Civil War ended, we went into a period called Reconstruction, which lasted from about 1865 until 1877. So it was about 12 years of productivity, of progress, of success on behalf of Black people. To own our own properties and land. We were able to run for office and govern. We had a freedom that we had never experienced in this country before. Of course, there was a backlash to that success, which still happens to this day. There was a backlash to the success of President Obama. There was a backlash after Jack Johnson won the heavyweight title for the first time in 1908. So, we have to look at history and make it relevant. So the things that are happening now is not the worst thing that ever happened to Black folk in this country. Things that are happening to us now are a repeat and a continuation of a behavior on behalf of some people, Black and white, who really are out for themselves, who are really selfish, who are really not interested in equality. And we have to be aware of that historically and on a contemporary basis. Things will continue to happen until systems change. See, America is a system. And if we just, it's almost like if you have a sore, and you think that you can put a Band-Aid on it and solve the problem. Well, you might have to go a little farther than that and get some other kind of work done. And when you go to a doctor, the doctor performs a culture on you, takes your blood, studies your blood to find out if there's anything in your bloodstream that contributes to your sickness. We have to do the same kind of study, intense study, as it concerns our humanistic walk through this land here that we call America.
And as you reflect on the past with your students, are there anything that surprised them when you teach it to them?
Well, a lot surprises them because it's stuff that they've never really had to, never heard before. It's never something that's taught in classes to them. Like we taught them, for example, that um, you know they talk about these rich men now. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, and the guy who owns Facebook, and and this other guy who owns Amazon. But they never heard of Mansa Musa, who to this day is known as the richest human being who ever lived in world history. Nobody has ever had more money and more wealth than he. And he was a black African. And when you start telling them stuff like that, they're shocked. They're like, oh, I never heard this before. Well, there's a reason you never heard it before, but you're going to hear more than that in this class.
And does that help with attendance rates, keeping students coming back to the class to learn more, to gain more knowledge? Are they open and accepting to that?
Yeah, we have a great attendance rate, and we have a great, I guess you would call it return rate. Students that are excited about coming back and they go out and they promote the program to others because this class is about them. This program is about them. And so, when you feel that people are invested in who you are and, you can tell your story, you're interested in that because it's about you. You know, if you love yourself, you're going to be in love with this kind of program.
And loving self is important. And when I interviewed Dr. Rains, he also mentioned the fact that self love and love for another individual that look like you can lead to powerful things. So, it would take place in the classroom to create that brotherhood feeling and that love of brothership and coming from the same um, oppressive system in America. What do you do in the classroom to build that?
One of the things we do is we impress upon the young men that you're not in this by yourself. You look around this classroom and you're looking at people who look like you. Not only do they not have a lot of teachers that look like us, but they don't have a lot of classrooms where when they're in a classroom, they can look around and see people who all look like them. And so they buy into the reality that, okay, I'm not alone. There's someone else who understands how it feels to get up and go to school hungry. There's someone else who understands how it feels to grow up without a father in your home. There's someone else who understands, how it feels to have a mother who's worked over. Kind of familiarity, it breeds the kind of attitude and behavior in a classroom that makes things work. Because everybody feels like, okay, I'm not in this by myself. I'm not in this alone. I'm not in this world by myself. And so it's just a great organic type of thing that happens. It's some magic that happens in our classroom that just works, and people love it. They want to come back. They don't want to leave.
Yeah, I know that was true for me.
You can
um,
attest.
yes, yes, I can. In creating that self love, self worth, and basically creating this brotherhood bond between all of these different classmates. You already mentioned it's missing for them in many of their classrooms, and for some of them, all of them, except for your class. So how do you get them to still invest in the rest of their classes? How do you get them to love their math class, love their science class, and go and give it its full effort and attention?
Well, we let them know that as much as you love coming here, you're going to have to do stuff in life that you maybe are not so in love with. You're going to have to face situations that are not so comfortable and not so conducive to your culture. When you go out into this world, you're going to have to deal with people who don't necessarily like you, don't necessarily have your best interests at heart. But if you want to do something with your life, you're going to see that it's necessary to go through these mountains, go over these mountains, and go through these peaks and valleys in order for you to get to where you want to get to. And again, it will come back to us not only talking with them, but showing them examples of people who look like them, who've achieved. We talked to them about Muhammad Ali, who gave up his heavyweight title because he didn't want to be degraded by going into the army to kill people who never called him the N-word. You know, he stood up against an entire system and came out 3.5 years later as the victor because he had a conviction and a belief and a foundation culturally, spiritually, and otherwise that informed his behavior. And so this is what we impress upon a young man, that you're going to have to, as much as you love this, you got to go and conquer that science and that math class so that you can get this degree, because you're going to need this in your education.
Yeah. And from the conversation we're having, and from what I experienced being in the program and witnessed being in the program, the young black males are very susceptible and ready to go and ready to learn when it comes to the program. But there's other obstacles that you, as a mentor, have to face, and as the leader of the nonprofit, have to face outside of just being an educator. You're already there without being paid. And you go and you run this program of now 60 plus young black males in South Los Angeles. Are you getting the support necessary from the school and or the school board, or whoever you need it from, in order to keep the program afloat and running as it should be?
Okay, now you're trying to get me in trouble.
Not at all.
No, well, we get some support for some of the basic stuff that needs to be taken care of, in terms of some of the supplies and stuff like that. So we have what's called a stipend, to take care of some basic necessities. However, at this point, given the success of the program, and what the program has affected, it's a national model for youth development, and it needs to be expanded beyond Locke and Los Angeles. And we're in talks right now with Louisiana and Texas and Illinois and other places to bring the program to other places. Um, and it, of course, needs the financial support that would be required for that to happen. Um, I'm not mad at Green Dot or Lock, because when we went into Green Dot or to Lock, we went in with the understanding that we were doing this from the heart. And so we're fine. We're fine with that. I mean, I think that anybody who values the program should support it when they see it and they understand how phenomenal it has been and continues to be. They would want to support that. And when I say anybody, I mean we're writing for grants and stuff as I speak. We're writing off for grants and stuff like that. So we definitely want to go to another level in terms of the funding of the program and of the organization. FAMLI. FAMLI is the program that houses. FAMLI is the organization that houses the program. See a man, be a man, and Princess the Queen, which we've been doing now for over a year at Lockhart. And that's going very well too.
I'm happy to hear it.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't ask that question to get you in trouble. I want,
That's all right.
I want individuals who are watching to understand that if you want things like this to be able to grow, in this case nationally almost, um, you need to invest in it. If that's financially or supportively in any other way you can, you need to invest in it. Um, and I wanted to mention that and keep that in mind for the other educators who is hoping for something like this in their own schools, along with anyone who is thinking, "Oh, that's a great program," as a administration personnel. um, you have to be willing to actually invest in making sure that the program works and flow correctly. Um, how hands on are the administration at any particular school when it comes to the program?
Well, the administrators pretty much allow us to just do what we do. We do our thing. They are as supportive as they can be in their capacity. Um, we would like more support. We would like more funding. I let that be known at every meeting and any meeting I ever had with anybody. But we really like the way we run our program. We like to be left alone. What we do is very specific to the culture that we are part of, and so we like the arrangement we have right now. All we need is more money.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, just as a sidebar, if you're watching this, and at the end of this, we're gonna make it clear on how you can support directly, and that way we can get more funding and build this up to something important. Um, Now, throughout the program, there are many opportunities that comes up for these males. Can you explain a little bit about the different HBCUs you worked with and have been working with and creating a connection with them?
Well, let me answer this like this. We have two students right now attending HBCUs. One is at Shaw University. His name is Skylar Davis, and one is at Dillard University in New Orleans. His name is Dorian Grayson. Uh, Skylar's at Shaw, and that's in Raleigh, North Carolina. And yeah, so we are in contact with the HBCUs throughout the country and other colleges and universities. We have a student at UCLA right now. Other students around in the California system. Some students in the trade techs and Southwest colleges and stuff like that. So junior college is also an aspiration for a lot of our students. And we actually started working on a tour, excuse me, to the HBCUs, and then COVID hit, so we weren't able to do it last year. But we're looking forward to next year, sending kids, physically sending kids to some of the HBCUs. And right now, the fact that we have a vice president who attended Howard University is only going to enhance our efforts to attract students to those colleges, and hopefully more money will come to those colleges so that they can sustain themselves and do more than they're doing right now.
Yeah, and all of the students who are now at these higher education um, facilities and institutions all drove themselves there, right? Because the CMN BMN programs don't necessarily force higher education on students, just explains the importance behind it, correct?
Correct. Um, we assist in any way we can. For example, with one of our students this year, for whatever reason, his parent, he doesn't have two parents. His parents did not support him leaving the home and going away to school. And he turned 18 years old and he made up his mind that this is what he wanted to do. And so we helped him by raising the money to get him an airline ticket and to put some money in his pocket to make sure that he could eat and pay his cell phone bill and all that when he got back there. And so I may as well say that's Skylar Davis. And Skylar is now at Shaw University on the dime of the FAMLI organization, which raised the money to get him there. I mean, I look forward to the day when we don't have to do that, where there's funding to take care of stuff like that. That's the reality that we deal with. All of these students are not supported in the way that they should be, even by their families sometimes. And that's just the world that we live in. So, but we believe in the philosophy by any means necessary. And so we made it happen on our end. He made it happen on his end, and he's enjoying his life as a freshman at Shaw University right now.
Amazing story. Good job, Skylar. I was in the same class with him a couple of times. um, I wanted to talk about the community dynamic and how important the community is when it comes to the organization um, itself. How much community involvement do you all look for the organization?
How much community involvement do we look for in the organization?
Yes,
Is that the question?
yes, it is.
Hey,
Well,
I
we
would like to
always
say that I was a neighbor. I would like to say that Torre was my neighbor. He was my next door neighbor, and he actually helped my brother get through school. So that's how me and Torre met. Actually, was not my next door neighbor, but he lived across the street from me. So yeah, sorry.
Thank you for that.
yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. Yeah, we do all we can. For example, family produces the See a Man, Be a Man, and Princess of Queen program at the schools, but we're just as well known for our community festivals. Malcolm X Festival we did for 15 years. Right now we do something called the I've Known Rivers I've Known Rivers Film Festival, and we just do all we can to reach out in the communities, do community arts programs throughout the year. So we're known across different idioms, and we do all we can to reach out to community. And now, of course, a lot of stuff is being done online. But we had last year in November, we had, I think Miss Grisby, Dr. Grisby came to the I've Known Rivers Film Festival, festival. We had a drive-in style film festival event, and now we're working on doing a series where we'll do it once a month. And we
Yes, and it was awesome.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, she came out, and so we do a lot of different things, man. We're very active in the community, very well known. We've made a lot of history in the community. We, for example, in 2003, we did a festival, a Malcolm X festival in Leimert Park, that is to this day the largest event in the history of Leimert Park. We had the great late great vocalist Tina Marie to come out and do a concert for us, and we got about 25,000 people down in the village, and people still talk about it to this day. So we do a lot of different stuff. Yeah. Mhm.
I just wanted to highlight the community aspect of the program, um, and which in turn impacts young black males without them even realizing it. Um,
Mhm.
what? Well,
Well,
I wanted to. Can you explain a little bit more about the film festival and what occurs there?
well, our film festival is right now it's a drive-in style, of course, for obvious reasons, and it's some of the greatest documentaries and concerts and interviews and movies that we can assemble. And we had a movie, for example, a documentary called Soul, or Mr. Soul, and it was about a TV show that a lot of people didn't know about that came out in the late '60s and early '70s. That to me was the greatest representation of Black culture ever captured on TV in a TV series. We showed that film, and then at our festival we have live entertainment. I also happen to live another life as a musician and vocalist, and so I had my band out called Everything with Soul, my solo band. Everything with Soul. We came out and we did a concert. We usually will have a fashion show. We didn't do the fashion show this year, but we had a speakers forum and press conference, and yeah, just different things that we do to make it a well-rounded event, make it multi-dimensional. And it's every November, so we're planning for the next one right now. Yeah.
And that's just amazing work, both in the classroom and as well out in the community. Can we talk about on stage? Um, and the work you do with your band and bringing just that nice soul flair back to live entertainment. Can you explain, the different work you do with your band and the performances that you all hold?
Well, I perform with two entities right now primarily, but I've also just mentioned. I want to mention that I also, for about a year, I was a vocalist with the group from the '70s. Um, the Delphonics. I've been with so many groups. I was a Delphonics. I've sung with the Temptations tribute groups. Um, you know, Platters. Different types of groups. But my main thing is Everything with Soul. It's a band I created that captures the spirit of New Orleans and soul music in general. And we actually have a concert on streaming live on the 24th of this month from the Barbara Morrison Theater. That'll be, I think, 7 o'clock that night on the 24th. I think it's a Wednesday night. And we're going to be putting that out pretty soon, promoting that. And we're going to the studio. I wrote some songs and stuff like that. So I'm excited about my songs, Shrimp and Grits, and another song I wrote called "See a Man, Be a Man." That I hope that becomes an anthem for Black men. It's a call to Black men to stand up and be men. You know, we don't want to put too much pressure on the sisters anymore. And then, of course, I'm still singing with my a cappella group, Street Corner Renaissance, which we've been doing for 16 years now. So I'm very active musically, and very blessed to be able to do it and to enjoy it, and people enjoy what we do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you talked about the CMN program, and I wanted to ask just your experience creating your career in music. How does that impact the young males when they learn about it and they hear you sing and perform and talk about performing? How impactful is that for them?
I think they like it. It's kind of old school to them, but I think they appreciate the honesty and the sincerity in terms of what I do musically. The era that I grew up in called for sincerity, and sincerity is a element of soul. You give from your heart. And the reason I call my band Everything with Soul is because I believe that everything that we do in our lives, we should do it with soul. And soul only means that you're doing it with feeling and you're doing it from an authentic place in your spirit. You're not doing it because of money. You're not doing it because you're trying to please other people or you know, anything like that. You're doing it because it's who you are and you're expressing the truth about yourself. And that's soul music.
Yeah, and speaking about soul and giving all you got with true love and well good intentions and thought out intentions um, to help individuals. Ca- Can you explain how individuals who are not black can help or try to help or impact young black males?
Okay, this um, a lot of people want to mentor and this and that. And that's all cool. I mean, we can certainly use that. But right now, I mean, we have everything we need in terms of what we need to deliver to young people, academically, culturally, etc. And so people who want to help can go to our website, www.famlysoul.org, family FAMLI, and donate. If they can't donate, they can share the link with their friends on Facebook and Instagram and all that, and just put the word out about the work that we're doing, and just let as many people know about us as possible. Just love us, man. Just wrap us in your arms, and we'll be all right.
That's
Mhm.
right. Sorry, just looking over my questions here.
Okay, but we got another meeting in about 5 minutes here.
Okay, we can wrap it up here. So I think the best way to end it is, what is your message? Sorry, what is your message to a young black male who is struggling right now to get up the ability to work towards a better future?
My message is today is the first day of the rest of your lives. No matter what happened yesterday, the day before yesterday, or even today, you can change your condition. You can change your life. Look inside for the answers to the challenges that are restricting you from going where you want to go. Find a mentor, find somebody who believes in you, who will stay with you. Um, but number one, just find that passion. Passion is the thing that you have to do, the thing that puts you that you're put on this planet to do. And if you can find that passion in your life, and find a way to earn a living doing that, then you'll never work a day in your life. And I tell everybody who knows me, who I get a chance to talk to, I've never worked a day in my life in the past almost 30 years, because everything that I've done is something that I was put here to do, and I feel blessed about that. And it's a good thing to know what you're put on this planet to do. So that's my short and skinny message to the young men and young women.
Well, I would like to thank you for your time. Everyone else that is on this call as well, thank you for being here. Um, Anyone else has any closing? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's see if they have anything they want to close, any comments, or if they want to ask a question or say something.
Yeah.
Anybody? Everyone says thank you.
I'd like to say something to her.
Okay, brother.
Okay,
Keep
first
it
of all,
short. Keep it,
I'm
say
keeping.
keep it short.
I really like this interview. It's a very good example of what it means to be a black man. I want to ask a quick question in terms of what ingredients or qualities would you see that a person would need to have, to possess, in order to get involved with this kind of work?
Well, number one, I would say is sincerity of purpose. You know, you have to be sincere. Sincerity only comes when you know who you are. And when you're true to who you are, you can get into this kind of work and know that you're going to do a good job, because again, it has nothing to do with money. Now, of course, we want to make money. I'm not saying that. I'm not crazy, right? But sincerity of purpose is critically important. You know, you have to have a love for these young people, you know, and loving them means sometimes you need to shut up and listen to them. It's not about always lecturing to them and always trying to tell them what to do. They know what to do. They just need somebody standing beside them and behind them, you know, to maybe help push them a little bit, but they know what to do. And so I would say that's the most important quality: sincerity and just honesty and etc. We can work on skills and stuff like that, but those are qualities that come from how people grew up and, you know, what values they have and that they bring to the table. So we're looking for people who have those kind of values and could work with a team. And it's not about us. It's never about us. It's always about those young people. And that's what we tell them. Thank you for that question. And I say Ms. Grisby said, everybody said thank you. So I think maybe nobody else has a question or anything.
All right. Well,
No,
anyone
I
in?
don't have a question. I just want to say thank you. And this, I missed a little portion of it. I had to take a call, but all I heard was very well said. And thank you. Thank you so much for all that you do for our young people.
Well, thank you for tuning in, for your support over the years. You know, you're one of my favorite people on this planet. You know that. You've always been there for us. And even you're one of those mother queens that we just love and love you so much. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I have one question here from a viewer.
Mhm.
They asked if you ever met. Um, I'm not sure if they're dating you here, but Cab Calloway.
Cab Calloway, I actually saw him with my own eyes one time. He lived to be, I think, 80 something years old. And I was in New Orleans walking down Canal Street. Canal Street is right across the street from the French Quarter. And there was Cab Calloway coming out of a hotel. I think he had a show at that time. So I didn't get a chance to meet him, but I did lay eyes on him, and I knew who he was because I had studied him in Duke Ellington and Billie Holiday and Miles Davis and Coltrane and all those people. So um, yeah, but I didn't get a chance to talk with him, but I did lay eyes on him. So he's one of the greats of all time, Cab Calloway. That's something that they would ask that question. Yeah.
All right, I
So
think
there are
that.
other people who we can't see who are on here. Is that how this goes?
Yeah. So on the other software that I'm using, there's individuals that was watching us. We had about 8 viewers at one point in time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope I didn't say anything too revolutionary.
No, you're 100% fine. There's no such thing.
All right.
All right. I think we're all set here. Again, thank you. And as everyone else said, thank you for all the work that you have done and all the work that you're going to do, because I know it's a lot more to come. And I appreciate all you have done for me. So thank you.
I appreciate you, man. You're an example of what we wish for young men to be, to aspire to become. So thank you for being who you are. And thank you to Romeo and Ava and Kimberly and Impinduzi and Sister Karen and everybody who came in today and all the people that I couldn't see. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Love, peace, and soul.
So have a great one.
All right.